Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Kenny Conversation, brought to you by JEGS, the leader in high performance aftermarket car parts. Remember to go to jegs.com for everything you need to fix your hot rod up or your everyday vehicle. And remember, they have truck parts and Jeep parts. Well, you're looking at her, you're saying to yourself, now, who is this girl? Lady, the great Taylor Kuehl. And the reason I say great is because you are living in a man's world and you're doing good, you're winning. How are you doing, Taylor?
I'm doing well. I just got back from racing in South Carolina this weekend. I was racing one of those Mid-East modifieds, and I had a blast. I got home really late, so I'm still trying to catch up.
Boy, isn't this the truth? Let's just start right there. You and I race a lot of dirt modifieds, and it's this vagabond lifestyle. I mean, I just shaved. I was so dirty, so junky. I'm exhausted. I ran 3 nights in a row. So tell me everything you just got done doing.
Yeah, I did the same exact thing. I saw all your posts on Facebook. I raced on Friday at Cherokee Speedway in South Carolina for the first time, and that track was such a blast. They say it's the place your mama warns you about.
Yes,
I don't know
yes.
why my mom doesn't know about that racetrack, but I love it.
Yeah. So you're running that's a what I call a UMP modified. Is that for Matt Crafton?
Yes.
Yeah, the NASCAR truck racer. So how'd you get hooked up with him?
We met at Kokopah Speedway in January when we were racing Winter Nationals, and he was actually pitted across from me. And he said this is how he first noticed me. I got my race car torn up in a heat race, and I came in and I was scrambling, and I tore the nose off. I tore the valance off of it. I got all the tools. We had to cut the collector off the header, and the muffler off the header, bolt a new muffler on, and we were just kind of scrambling. It was just me and my crew guy, and then a couple people jumped in and helped. And so he was like, I saw you working on your car, and then after that, I watched you all week. Just kind of like a fan. And he was like, I saw you working on your car the whole week, and you were looking at your dyno sheets for your shocks and figuring out what you need for the next night of racing. So um, he said he mostly just appreciated me working on my car and having the same passion that a lot of grassroots racers like him have.
I love that story. Okay. So here's what we're going to do to introduce you to everybody. Charlie Marlo, who runs, the Kenny Wallace show here on YouTube.
Yep.
His archives are the best. So people are going to say, Kenny, how do you know about Taylor Kuehl? And I'm going to say, well, everybody knows about Taylor Kuehl. So what we're going to do is instead of explaining how I know you, we're gonna let it roast. So Charlie, let's put the video up and let's all sit back for a little bit. And this is how I met Taylor Kuehl. All right, we're doing a video. So 21 cars. I started 11th. Where'd you start?
Fourth.
Fourth. I drove as hard as I could drive, and she finished second. Let's get better light. I just want everybody to know what a great race car driver you are. Tell everybody your name.
Thank you. I'm Taylor Kuehl.
Taylor, you're cool.
Thank you.
Anyway, I had to do this video. I mean, I aired that son of a bitch out, B-Mod 602 crates.
You gave me a run for my money.
Yeah, but you were incredible because, you outran all the men.
Yep.
You run second, 21 cars. You're really good. I think you're as good. I think you're as good as Danica Patrick.
Thank you.
Dirt's hard. I mean,
is.
these 602 crates, you're like, whoa, whoa. Where'd you learn to drive like that?
Takes a lot of time and discipline.
She got a good car too, though.
Yep.
Look here, really nice race car. So you got to have a good race car too. All right, I wanted to give you a shout out. You're incredible.
All right. Thank you so much. It was fun racing with you.
Thank you. Okay, so that night I will never forget. You and I are running, B modifieds, whatever you want to call them, Northern Sports Mods, and I start around 14th and I get to third and the caution comes out. And I'm like, I'm going to get this second place person. And I air that thing out. I mean, no lie, my gas was like this. Wah, and I couldn't get this second place driver. I go to the scales, IMCA, right? Tech inspections, everything. And you get out of the vehicle. And I was like, that's a girl. And you were tiny. I thought you growed up a little bit, I feel like. But do you remember that night?
Yes, I do very well. I didn't really realize who I was racing with, and then you got out and you were so excited and just you had fun during the race and you were so excited. You had a big smile on your face, and we just talked about the race and you were like, "I didn't even know you were a girl."
Yeah, well, my disclaimer has finally come out over the last month. I always put up for the girls because my mom, Judy, was a great racer, powder puff racer. And then, of course, my niece, Chrissy Wallace, which is my brother Mike, she's a good racer. And I was just talking with Haley Deegan. She sent me a note thanking me for always putting up for her. And I said, well, here's why. And then at the very end, she goes, oh, I get it. So kind of on that same I guess, wavelength. How's it been for you as a lady racer running in IMCA?
It's been a challenge. I think just like every other racer, we all face our good days and our bad days, and any racer knows that the lows are really low and the highs are
Mm.
really high. I think just for the racing that I do, the grassroots dirt racing, you're at a lot of people's local home tracks, and then you go out to these big shows. You're kind of just a racer to everyone, I feel like. And I remember you asking Haley, you're like, does everyone wreck you, or why does everyone race you so rough?
Yeah.
And because I watched your whole video with her, and
Thank you.
and I figured all of us racers are kind of the same. We're all a little bit different in our own way. Some of us are really aggressive. Some of us are really respectful, and we're not aggressive. And we can all kind of be one or the other at times. And so I feel like everyone races me for the most part, just like they race anyone else, any other male or female. And some guys are just overly aggressive, and you can either talk to them about it or you can't, or you just race them the same way or you don't. And you just, my dad's taught me the way of beating them is just to pass them, beat them in the race. You don't need to beat the crap out of their car just because they did to you. But I feel like for the most part, people race me the same and people treat me about the same way.
I feel like I'm going to say this and then you comment on it. We race these dirt cars so much, 3 nights in a row, 3 different tracks. Do you feel like you're starting to just wear the guys down? Like, oh, that's Taylor. Are they starting to understand that you're going to be there and you're going to race them? Have you trained them yet?
I think so.
Yeah.
For the most part, people know how I race and why I'm there. I want to win, and I'm aggressive, but I try to be very respectful at the same time. I know what goes into it, all the work and time that goes into the race cars.
I want to ask you a unique question that I kind of face with my own demons, and every once in a while I struggle with it. I'm like, okay, we're running, as my brother Rusty Wallace would say, Herman, why are you running those old dirt cars? OLE, old dirt cars. Do you ever catch yourself? Because I do. I feel like when I run these little dirt tracks that nobody even knows we're racing, you can go to the corner gas station. They don't even know we're there. Do you ever feel like if we win a race, like all of a sudden we're the greatest of all time and we can solve world peace? But then on Monday, everybody's got to go back to their jobs. I mean, do you understand the dynamic, and can you comment on that?
Yeah, I feel the same way. I know on the bigger scale of racing, I see something happens on a Friday night race or Saturday race in NASCAR, and they'll be talking about it for the next week every single day. And there's drama, or there's good news or bad news. It's just continuously flowing. But yeah, I definitely feel the same way for our stuff. I won a big race, a qualifier at Super Nationals 2 years ago.
On
And
my list. On my list.
yeah, my phone blew up all night long and for a good part of the next day. And then after that, I feel like just nothing. Because we go into the big race that I won the qualifier for, and the same nerves kick in. They're wanting you to. Some people are wanting you to win, and some people are just watching you a little bit more closely. But yeah, I feel like it wears off really quickly.
I'm glad you said it that way, because I also agree with you. I have a dear friend named Donnie Jumper, and he says, Herman, you sure do promote yourself. And I said, right, because nobody cares about dirt racing. We have our cult, we have our small cult, but for the most part, sometimes I wonder, why do I put so much effort into this? Do you ever feel like that? Like, what am I doing?
Yeah. There's a fine line between like doing too much and maybe not doing enough. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I've been really active on social media and trying to promote this and get people to know what dirt racing is actually like behind the scenes. And then sometimes I'm like, I should just be enjoying this and not really putting so much into it. But when I look at it that way, then I kick myself in the butt like, okay, I'm not doing enough. I can't relax. I need to keep going and keep promoting this and getting the word out. So, yeah, I'm kind of in between there.
I'll end like this on that small subject. I have some great racers around this area. Uh, Mike Harrison, he's an 8-time UMP, one of the greatest, and he's having a rough year. But I reminded him, Mike, you're great. And then some of my friends that run good, that don't run good, I said, come on now, we're just running an old dirt car. We all still go to work on Monday, but that's how I help some of my friends when we have these dry spells in dirt racing. Okay, let's start like this. I tease sometimes. Let's start the interview, right? um, when I met your dad out in Yuma, Arizona, we go out there in January, big, beautiful half mile. Your dad comes up to me and, you know, we got the Green Bay Packers gear on and we're from Wisconsin, but then everything I see with you is Arizona. So, Taylor, I'm confused. Explain to everybody what the deal is. Who's from Wisconsin? Your dad knew the great Dick Trickle and everybody. Where are we from, and explain it?
Okay, my dad, he's from Wisconsin. He's from Sheboygan, a small town there.
Love that name, Sheboygan.
Sheboygan. And my mom's from like Central California.
Oh,
And they
okay.
both met in Arizona, and that's where I came into the picture.
Yay.
And so I was born and raised in Arizona. I lived there my whole life for about 20 years. And I grew up racing there. I raced asphalt go-karts at PKRA in Phoenix. And then raced there my whole life, did other stuff, went to school, everything, grew up there. And in 2020, I went to Montana and worked on a farm all summer so I can buy my first race car because my dad owned all my stuff before that. And I did that. And then in 2021, I started racing in Iowa for a couple months, went back home in Arizona. And then the next year, I decided that I absolutely loved Iowa. I loved the people. I loved the dirt track racing, mostly the dirt track racing. That's what drew me here. And that's when I moved to Arizona. To Iowa. So I'm permanently in Iowa now, and I still call Arizona home. But
Yeah.
I guess I'm an Iowa girl now.
I see a lot of you IMCA racers. And by the way, I want to remind everybody, IMCA is no joke. They are the oldest racing association in America, older than NASCAR, and they got it going on. You know, I hear some racers might complain about IMCA, but listen, I've seen them all. They got the rules are very tough, but they enforce them. I think IMCA is good for you. Do you like IMCA?
Yeah, definitely. They, like you said, they keep a really strict guideline. Um, but they're very reputable around the country. There's a lot of states that are IMCA sanctioned, a lot of their racetracks. So they obviously do a really good job having racers race under them, I guess.
Yeah.
It's a popular thing.
As you started talking about your career, I did a lot of studying on you, and you got some good social media out there. And I Googled you. As you said, you started asphalt kid carts at 5 years old, all the way to 13. You moved up to cadet carts with the big engines, big chassis. But something stuck out, and I want you to just touch on it. You had the opportunity to go race for Team USA World Finals in New Orleans, Louisiana. Karting's biggest show on an international level. Tell me about that experience.
Yeah, so it is asphalt go-kart racing's biggest event on an international level. We have drivers from almost every country that allows go-kart racing. That the top drivers from those countries join this race. They qualify into this race somehow. And so I raced an 8-race series for that, and it really came down to actually me and another girl. This was in 2013, and it was just my dad and I, and she had a big team behind her, and like the CRG karting that represents a lot of people. People pay to be under their tent and stuff, and they have really good resources, good coaches and stuff. So we were like, well, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity that we get to race for this, and I really wanted the ticket to it. I felt like we had good equipment, and my dad and my brother were kind of my coaches. And so they helped me win the 8-race series. I think I won 5 out of 8 races. I think I won actually 7, but I got docked for 2 of them, which kind of.
What'd you do? Cut a corner?
No, I started dead last one time. This sticks out in my head. I started dead last one time, and they said I jumped the start. I didn't pass anyone, but they said I was out of line. And I ended up winning it from last, and they docked me.
Oh. That break my heart at that age.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You know it. And
Yeah.
but anyways, we ended up prevailing, and it went really well. So we got to the world finals, which was the coolest thing back then. I'm sure it still is in go-karting. And that's probably one of my favorite memories in racing.
So as you move forward, something that sticks out in my mind, and we're going to roll another clip. I find, as I follow you on social media, you're a little bit like me. It's either me or somebody that can like plug the battery charger in for me. And so many years ago, not long ago, you rolled up in this big old motorhome to Yuma again, because I see you every January just about. And Charlie, so what this is about, I find you by yourself a lot. So Charlie's going to roll that clip right now. What is going on with all these girl race car drivers? Now we got Taylor Kuehl drove her own hauler in. Taylor.
Hi.
Another girl race car driver. And you bring everything here all by yourself.
Yeah, I had to.
You going to kick my ass?
Are you racing a stock car?
I will if you make me.
Yep, then I will.
Hold on. Where's everybody at?
I'm riding solo.
You have no help?
I do have help.
You're the real deal.
Thank
It's
you.
on my YouTube channel. I want everybody to see such a badass.
Alrighty, hi YouTube.
So, 2 years ago, last lap, I'm driving my ass off trying to run second, and this car outruns me. We come to Tech, and this little girl gets out, and I'm like, so Taylor Kuehl. All right, I wanted you to meet. All right. Do good.
Thanks, good luck this week.
You do. Okay, so we go from you racing on an international level with your brother, your dad, you're surrounded by family, and you roll up in that motorhome, and I'm like, where's everybody at? How do you find yourself by yourself sometimes? Or would you say sometimes you're on an island by yourself?
I definitely used to be. Like I said, I went off on my own in 2020 so I could buy my own race car. I've been raised to be really independent and use your resources, figure it out. If you can't figure it out, well, find a different way to figure it out. Don't ask till you figure it out until you absolutely can't. So I've just been raised that way, and I wanted to go racing in Iowa. And obviously, my dad and my mom have their jobs, so they can't just drop everything and take me to Iowa. So luckily, I met my car owner now in Arizona when I was racing, and he said, "Hey, I have a shop for you. You can use. Come to Iowa. I really want you to race. I see potential in you, and I want to help you out, whatever I can do." So he gave me a shop to work out of, and my dad and I drove the truck and trailer to Iowa, and he kind of just dropped me off. He was like, "All right, good luck. I'll be watching on TV." And I knew nothing, absolutely nothing. Looking back on it, I'm like, what was I doing? Um, but that was the year that I probably saw the most growth in myself as a driver, and just as a person too. I, yeah, I was dropped off in Iowa by myself, and I basically just was thrown to the wolves. I had to learn everything that I know now. I had to learn from other people or just figuring it out. So um, I I don't mind at all going off by myself if that's what I have to do to go racing, enjoy what I enjoy, then that's definitely what I'm gonna do. And I think back when I saw you and I pulled up in the motorhome, that's when it all started.
So I'm sure your father has taught you who one of the greatest racers, short track racers of all time on asphalt was Dick Trickle. And Dick ran dirt too. He could do it all. He said something, he tutored me. Without Dick Trickle, I would not be where I'm at right now. But he said, you gotta wanna. It basically meaning you gotta want it. You gotta, but Dick made a shortcut. He said, you gotta wanna. Seems to me like you really wanna. You wanna do this, or else you wouldn't put yourself through all that.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think it's like anything. If you really want to and you have the passion and you have the drive for it, then you're gonna make it work no matter what it takes.
I see a lot of pictures, and I want people to know this about you. You're a pretty lady, but there you are under your race carts on jack stands, and you're just destroyed. You're dirty,
Yeah.
you're junky. You got the transmission out, the drive shaft out, you're putting a new flywheel in or whatever you're doing. Do you do that because you have to, or do you do that because you feel like it's got to be done, and you're learning the process?
At first, I was learning the process. I One thing would be wrong, like something in the transmission would be wrong, and then it would go to the drive shaft, and I'd break a gear, and I'm like, "What's going on?" Well, first fix the first things first. Fix the transmission. So when you go to the transmission, you find out that maybe the throwout bearing and clutch were misaligned. So you line that all up. Well, then you find out the pilot bushing and the motors misaligned. So it's like I was just trying to make it to the racetrack, and I was learning all that stuff as I was going. And now that I know a lot of that stuff, that's something I look for when I'm just doing my regular maintenance. And I know if it has to be done, it's going to be done right. Otherwise, we're not going racing because we're going racing to win. So we need the right stuff to do that. And nowadays, I do it because it has to be done if I want to win.
It reminds me of my brother Mike. Take the trash out, pay the taxes, and Mike would say, "Herm, it's got to be done." Yeah, good stuff. Okay, I hope everybody understands that you're not just a pretty lady racer. You're really good. Obviously, we've watched the video of me talking to you after the race. You roll up in the RV by yourself. There's plenty of pictures out there. You got a great Instagram page where you're extremely dirty. You're under the car. I hope people understand how bad you want it, and what a great racer you are. And that leads me to 2022. You qualified for the IMCA Super Nationals. Now, this, ladies and gentlemen, let me say this: this is big. This isn't something to take lighthearted. I think that, to me, for me now, I want you to tell me. To me, that's the biggest thing you've ever done.
Yeah.
Is it? Tell me about that 2022 qualifying for the IMCA Super Nationals and starting on the front row.
Yeah, I'd agree. That's the biggest thing I've done in racing so far. I watched Super Nationals for years before I actually went and raced it, and I would get tears in my eyes, like just them starting four wide for this big race, and it's the best drivers in the country in this IMCA modified racing, and you get like this bulge in your throat and tears in your eyes, and you're like, this is
Big.
what we freaking live for. This is what we've been waiting for all year long.
Yes.
Coolest
Yes.
thing ever. And there's thousands of fans watching in person and online, and it's just like you want to be on that stage. That's what you want as a racer. And so it was always my goal just to make the show. I was like, I'm not gonna win that thing. I want to make the show. And watching it before I raced it, I'm like, I just want to be there and race it. I don't even care to make the show. I want to be there. And when I started racing it, I want to make the show. And then that year, it was kind of the same thing. I didn't have huge expectations. You can't really have expectations going into that week because you never know what's going to happen. There's 1,000 other racers just in that week that are racing for the same thing you are. So you can't have low expectations, and you have to hold yourself to a higher standard to know that you're gonna be toward the front that week. But just we started the qualifier on the front row that week or that night, and I was really nervous. I had some big hitters behind me, people who have previously won the Super Nationals, previously won qualifiers there, win weekly at Boone or weekly at their track, weekly at these big events. And so I was really, really nervous. And we ended up holding it off for the win and getting that win. And it was really bittersweet because I always wanted to make the race. And then to be on that stage in front of all these people and beat all these really good racers was just kind of insane to me. I'm like, this isn't real. This doesn't make sense. I just wanted to be in the show. But it was really incredible. I was kind of speechless.
So let's move forward a little bit. Another thing that stands out is you've got a car. You come up with some really good paint schemes, and I saw Rosie. Rosie is this lady during the war years ago that went to work for a living, and we see her. She's got the bandana on. She's a tough girl, and you have that paint scheme. Tell me about this paint scheme. How did it come apart? And I love it.
Thank you. The Hunting with Heroes, they put on this 3-race series every year in the end of July, and it's called the Salute to Veterans Tour. And you get a pretty good car count for it, but the whole purpose of it is to salute our veterans and just honor our veterans and what they've done for all of us, all the sacrifices they've made. So I was the first woman that they ever had representing the tour, and I didn't know what to expect when I met with him and he asked me to be a part of it. I came into it very professional. I had everything laid out on my laptop. Like, this is my idea of how I'm going to promote it. This is the theme I want to go with. I've designed this. It's a really rough draft, but we're going to go into it and make this thing look really cool so we can bring some attention to it. So we ended up having Rosie the Riveter on the car, and it's kind of stuck ever since. I skipped a year doing it, and then I did it this year again, and we decided to bring Rosie back because it was pretty iconic.
I want to make a comment. I hope everybody out there that has made it 27 minutes into this see and listen and realize how you promote yourself. I have so many fathers call me. My boy is, 8 years old. He's won 12 championships. He's going to be Kyle Larson. Kenny Wallace, what's the next thing I should do? I'm going to answer him right now. Be like Taylor Kuehl. Create a platform. Go get money. Get sponsorship. Tell them what you're going to do for them. I always tell people, look, I've run my mouth my whole life, and I've got great sponsors. I mean, here's one right here, Crow Equipment. Scott Crow, he said to me, hey, man, can I get a little more publicity? I'm like, sure. So I put that right there. And so, yes, good job, Taylor. I mean, that's the way you got to go after. You you can't just have people. I mean, yeah, they do just give you money sometimes if they like you, but for the most part, you got to sell product, and that's really awesome. What other sponsors? You got a car owner. What else has got you to where you're at?
Just a lot of connections. That's what a lot of sponsorship and partnerships and stuff in racing are, just having connections and meeting people. I know you told me a long time ago, Taylor, I enjoy talking to you and racing with you. It's cool to do a video with you, but you're really quiet and you don't go out and talk to people. You don't approach people. So, I don't know if I ever told you, but I took that into account and I really started trying to get myself out there a little bit more. And at the racetrack, I'd stop by and talk to people. And if I saw promoters, I'd thank them for having us at their show and stuff. So I've tried to be a little bit more approachable and also approach people on my own. Um, yeah, and that's how I've made a lot of my connections. And I've had Carl Customs. They've given me a crate motor, and they've given
That's
me
big.
some good support in the last couple of years. We have an open motor with them now, and I still represent them the best I can. And then I have a lot of people from home in Arizona, and then just people seeing me race and me going out and meeting people here in Iowa. I've made some pretty good partnerships with people here.
I took a liking to you because you're a lady in a man's world, and like Matt Crafton, that story you told earlier, I'm like, in my mind, I'm thinking, I think this lady wants it. She's got that Dick Trickle, gotta wanna, and
Yeah.
thank you for when I say something to people, I want to make sure it's good hearted, good spirited, and I'm like, okay, she wants it, but now she's got to talk, you know. And I say that, to some people that really want it, they want to move forward. So I'm glad that you didn't get mad at me. I'm glad that you took it to heart, because Taylor, that's the only way I made it. Is I tell people, look, the only reason I didn't have enough. I mean, people get mad at me when I say this. I'm not that talented. I'm okay. But the only reason I made it is because I was able to sell product. There's an old saying, if you're going to play, you got to pay. Got to get the money somewhere. And
Yep.
that's awesome. That's really awesome. I'm proud of you. That makes me super happy. Okay. Another thing that I see stands out. There's always been this talk. The ladies should race against each other. And, Danica Patrick says, I find that I want to beat the ladies more and they want to beat me more. So, I mean, Danica Patrick acknowledges that the girls are harder on each other. I see that you had this IMCA Lady Eagles points. Explain that to me.
Yeah, so IMCA, they do like a special points series. You have your rookie of the year, you have your national point leader, and then they do our special series, the Lady Eagle series. So it's just accumulating points throughout the year. And obviously, the more wins and the more seconds, top threes that you have, you're going to have more points than all the other women that are racing.
Yeah.
So we raced quite a bit last year, and we got 8 IMCA wins. And we really weren't shooting for this championship, but we ended up on top at the end of the year, and I didn't really expect it, but it was pretty cool. But yeah, I think Danica's right. All the other lady racers, we're all trying to beat all the boys, but there's far and few in between in racing all these girls. So when there's only 3 girls, I want to be the best girl. I want to stand out and be the best girl, but I also want to beat all the boys.
Well, you are standing out as number one, in my opinion, in IMCA. I'd be remiss. In other words, I should ask you this, is the way I feel. Danica Patrick, who to me is the greatest lady racer of all time. That's my opinion, okay? She said something that just struck me so truthful. She says, stop and think about it, Kenny. There's thousands of men racers out there. And all you're trying to find Kyle Larson and Christopher Bell, and there's maybe 10 of us.
Yeah.
So it's really hard on you. What do you think of that statement that Danica said?
That there's less girls than
There's just, when you put 1,000 men in there, there's an opportunity to find a lot. And there's
yeah.
not very many of you girls. It's so hard to make it to NASCAR or to be able to do it for a living. What are
Yeah.
your thoughts? You got to really stand out.
Yeah, and I think nowadays the social media marketing plays a huge part in this. You you need to be able to promote yourself, but I think for this dirt racing stuff that I'm doing, the biggest thing is just knowing your car, knowing the mechanics, and being a smart driver. And I think whether you're a boy or a girl, you have to know the basics.
Taylor, I've had a wonderful time talking to you. You're a winner. As I've said for the third time, you're in a man's world. You showed how hard you want it. So it leads me to this. What is your end game? I mean, for me, it was like, I want to make it to NASCAR. Now I'm old. I'm going to be 61 August 23rd. You're a baby. You're only 23. What is your end game? What's your goal?
Making a living out of racing is really what I want to do. I have great partners right now, but to be able to represent good people in racing, that's really important. The marketing side, but being able to race every week like I'm doing, I mean, you can't do it forever on your own. So just to be able to go racing, have good partners to help support me. I think I've looked a lot at dirt late model racing. I think that's a suitable thing for me in the future, but just being realistic at the moment, I think just to continue dirt modified racing. I've raced for Matt Crafton. That was my 6th race this weekend in his modified, and that's actually my first time in a 4-link car. So I'm picking a lot of these things up, and we're trying to make that dirt modified racing work. I might hopefully be racing with you in the UMP modifieds soon. That's what we're shooting for. And obviously you do okay with that, doing that maybe as a living or being able to have it pay for itself. So yeah, that's what I want to do. If I can make it to NASCAR or different types of dirt racing, I would love the opportunity. I always try to push for new opportunities and take every one that I can.
What I hear is you're a racer and you love racer. And what I've learned in life is we have to have purpose. And Taylor, you have purpose. You've been wonderful. Thank you for coming on Kenny Conversation.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right, everybody. Remember, we are in podcast form. You can listen to Taylor Kuehl on your way to work and on the way back home after work. And we're on iTunes and Spotify. All right, everybody. Until the next Kenny Conversation, see you next time.
Thank you. See ya.